Welcome to Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I am Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 147 of Forever Exiled. Here we are, like every Friday for the
147% we're giving in this one.
Yep. Well, that seems a little high, but yeah, somewhere in that range.
We'll be done in like 20 minutes. If that, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks for people who listen to the podcast on like slightly faster speed if all of a sudden we actually talk faster. I don't think you have that issue, but remember Chris?
Yes, I remember.
So good.
Hang on.
What's up?
Discord's doing funny stuff. It's ducking when we speak over each other.
Whatever.
No, Discord, but I can't hear you.
I can hear you fine. It's fine. Don't start messing with stuff.
Fine.
Big shout out to Patreon's Zaints. Thanks for your support this week. For everybody else who supports the podcast, you guys are the best. If you're curious what our Patreon gets you access to, it's After Dark, of course, which is just our podcast after the podcast. We continue to talk about more stuff and things. And there will probably, for me, be a drink tonight because it's been a week. But yeah, thanks everybody for your support. We really appreciate it. And you guys are awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah. Super awesome.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. But Justin and I were talking about it, and we agree.
Yeah,
you're awesome.
We had a meeting, a white spot meeting, and the consensus after a long time was, "You're the best. You're just the best."
Actually, we should go out for a bite to eat this Monday because I got a crazy August coming up. I'll be gone for most Mondays. So,
yep, I'm gone. So
you're what?
I think I'm gone. Is that the first?
This Monday?
Oh no, I'm leaving on the 2nd.
Leaving on the 2nd.
Yeah,
you better be back for Friday's recording.
I just checked. I am. So it's good. It's good. It's good.
You planned around
it's good.
Pretending to be apathetic.
Yeah. So right. Maybe we can
Monday. We're going out.
Maybe I have something going on that day. But anyway, cool. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, you're useless.
We'll see. How was your week, bud?
Well, it was smoking hot. I'm sure it was for you too. I am loving this weather. Most people, it's so funny, right? Our area of the world, it's mostly rain. We get a tiny bit of snow in the winter, right? We'll get maybe a month of negative degree weather. Summer, we'll get like 2 months of really hot summer, but throughout the normal 9 months of spring and fall, which is constant rain or overcast, people are always complaining and wanting summer to come. The second summer hits, nobody's outside.
It's so hot, man.
It's so absolutely hot. Dead. I know, but so here's the thing, though. It's not like it's mid-20s.
We're recording at 10:45 right now. This morning, when I had to go to a meeting at 9 o'clock, it was 28 degrees outside at 9 o'clock. Yeah, that's crazy. It's just it's hot.
It's expected.
Although next week we got crappy weather, so
that's right. But no, not really. In about 4 hours, it's expected to be 36 degrees.
Wow.
Which, I don't know, in crazy talk, that's like mid-90s.
18 and a half in my house.
Seriously, I don't know how you can do that. My air conditioner's on constantly trying to hit 24 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God, I'd be sweating in my own house.
Oh, it's fine because downstairs, there's no insulation. There's no flooring. If I had the
basement, it would be great. I do have a basement, but I'm not in the basement. If I was in the basement, it would probably be better. But I'm on the main floor, so
it's like 10 degrees down here with studs and concrete.
That's the best.
I want slippers. I have slippers and hoodies
for weird.
When I'm at the computer, and then we go upstairs and we're like in our Speedos.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, no, it's been an awesome week. I love this kind of weather. Like when I this time that I spent in South America, I absolutely loved the weather in Brazil. It was just. So this is my kind of stuff. I absolutely love outside of the air advisory warnings that we also get. Thank you, Lytton, for your smoke from your forest fires. Hope everyone's okay. But hopefully, I don't know, California always mirrors us or we mirror them in the forest fire thing. But forest fires have been down a lot this year for us, which is.
We had 2 very close to us yesterday. So
here?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I didn't know that.
I can tell you about that later, but yeah, it was actually affecting work too. So. Anyway,
oh wow, didn't know that. But anyway, the in terms of news and stats, it seems to be a lot less this year, which is nice for those that live in the interior. But anyway, hope everybody's safe. But yeah, air advisory warnings. But it's just been so perfect. Absolutely love it. My wife and I are getting a babysitter. Well, my mom and my sister are going to take care of my kids tonight, so we can go see Thor and then play Elden Ring all night.
I saw Thor; it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that's cool. You're kind of funny to ask, like, how was a Marvel movie, though? Because you don't care about continuity.
Not at all.
Nope.
I'm like,
That's
okay,
right.
we went there, we watched it. Maybe sometimes I'll be like, huh, that seems familiar. But overall, I'm just going for the entertainment and mostly just to get out.
So I'm glad you liked it. What else? Been hanging out a lot with the kids this week, which is kind of fun because the air advisory warning, I haven't been encouraging the kids to go outside. If they want to, they can, but if they want to stay inside, I'm not forcing them to be outside in the summer weather because of the air warning. So we spend a lot of time playing games right now. Yep.
Oh,
yeah, it's a small one. It's not a big deal. They're not telling you to stay inside, but they are telling you, like, if you have respiratory issues or you're elderly, to stay inside, which my daughter has, right? So,
elderly.
Yep. That's right. My 9-year-old's elderly. And what else? Didn't play too much Elden Ring this week, but my boss videos, Justin, nailing it. Got about 109 published now, which is awesome.
Wow, good for you.
Loving it. And so that's exactly what the kids are watching.
Nice.
Put it up there, and I even cut out like all the gross cutscenes with the epic bosses where they're like, their arms are getting cut off.
You purposely cut it out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because just for the fight. People just want to see me fight.
They want to see how you fight.
They don't care about the sweet visuals.
That's right.
They care about this guy right
Let me
here.
see this 20-minute boss video.
No. But please, 5 minutes is a long boss
Max.
Fight. All right. But anyway, they got them and I cut them there just so that I don't have to worry about the kids seeing stupid stuff. But that's actually what they chose to watch. Instead of watching a movie like Finding Nemo, they're watching Elden Ring boss videos.
Sweet. That's awesome.
And good news for me, you woke up alive on Tuesday morning.
Yep, I did. Thank goodness. So, all right. Here's a PSA.
Here, before you get into it, people, it can happen out of nowhere. Be thankful for the people you love.
It's true. So this is my PSA for this whole episode. Get your carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Make sure they're working. We've always had them. When we bought our house, we bought quite a few. I actually spent quite a bit of money putting in smoke detectors, and it's the Nest systems. And so they have carbon monoxide built into them. They all talk to each other. They're all through the house. And people kind of gave me a hard time because it costs a lot to put it. When the firefighters told me you should have one in every single room and one in each open area, I was like, I got a lot of rooms. Like, that's a lot of things. So, but we did. We put them all in. So Monday night, Tyler and I were playing some games with some friends, and it was fun. We were having a good time. And all of a sudden, at about 9:00 my time, the one of the carbon monoxide detectors went off, and it said, so when they go off, they say what it is. So in this case, it starts to beep loudly, and it says carbon monoxide in the basement. And that goes through the whole house.
Basement.
Yeah, in the basement. So I, being the person I am, was like, oh, these stupid things, what's wrong? Like, I instantly go that direction. So I hop off the computer, go downstairs, and it's just I have 3 in the basement. In this,
we were fine without you, by the way. We were playing Age of Empires, and we were fine. No thanks to me. But
I'm actually more impressed the second time that Soja carried you through. But so anyway, I go downstairs and I look at this one device, and I'm thinking, like, what could be leaking carbon monoxide? That doesn't make sense. We haven't changed anything. So I opened some of the windows and doors downstairs. And I looked on because there's an app that shows you too. And I'm like, it said that I should replace the batteries. Maybe it's it. But then in my head, I'm also going like, a battery warning shouldn't be a carbon monoxide, warning. So I took one of my good detectors from the main floor, took it downstairs, and aired it all out. It all stopped. Everything seemed fine. By that point, though, my girls were freaking out. My wife was a little worried, so she took our kids to her mom's place with the dog. She's like, "They're not staying here. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want them here," which was a good thing.
You thought about the dog. That's nice.
Logan did. Yeah, I didn't. I actually was like, "It's fine. I'm fixing it," which is such a dumb thing to think. But in my head, I had it.
I'm blowing really hard. It's all.
It's fine. And the carbon monoxide's scary because you can't smell it. There's no smell at all. So I go switch this stuff out, air it out. Everything's fine. Nothing's going off. By this point, my wife's taken the kids. She's come back. And now it's about probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm back playing with you guys. We're playing a game. And while we were playing, I didn't say anything, but while we were playing, I got just like a short sniff of gas. And I thought, that's got to be in my head now. Like, it was so small. And I thought for sure it was just my head messing with me because of all the stuff that I had just been dealing with. And I thought I had this whiff of gas. And at about, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock our time, we were in a game. And my whole house went nuts. All of the alarms now were going off, and carbon monoxide warnings were happening. And so I got off with you guys. Well, I just left. I literally just turned off I popped off the computer to go see what was going on. And at this point now, the whole house is freaking out. All of our sensors are freaking out that there's carbon monoxide in the home. So at this point, Christina's getting mad because I'm not leaving the house. Because in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, I can figure this out.
As Seinfeld would say, I'm holding it with my arm.
My arm. And it's just really hard because you can't smell it. Like I went down right into our furnace room where the furnace and hot water is, and I'm trying to see, like, is something wrong? But you wouldn't know even if you were, which I was standing in the middle of it. So she calls 911 because apparently that's what you're actually supposed to do. And again, our alarms are bananas. It's so loud through the house, and it will not let me silence them anymore. Because before you could silence it while you were trying to figure it out or whatever. So she calls 911.
And she's not in the house. She's at someone else's house.
No, she's on the driveway. She had come back from her mom's place after leaving the kids. And she had said later she was even not sure if she wanted to come back because she just wasn't comfortable about it. But
my husband's a dumbass. I'll get another one.
Yeah,
let's move on.
That's exactly right. Exactly. I'll collect the money and I'll be fine. So we're out on the driveway. Firefighters show up like maybe 10, 15 minutes. And the front door is open, and they go in with their little testers.
By the way,
yeah,
Soja and I kept playing Age of Empires while you're going through all of this because we didn't know the severity of it, of course. And then all of a sudden, I get a WhatsApp message with a picture of a fire truck guy, and I'm like, not fire truck guy. It's not like he's stripping for you. Guy. Yeah, well, it's this guy. He's really hot. No, it's just of the fire truck. But I appreciate the heads up. Were you guys still
playing at that point?
Oh yeah. We were doing great.
Okay, cool.
No, but we felt bad for you. We're like, oh man, hope he makes it.
Yeah, he messaged me the next day. We had a quick chat, but. So they bring out their little testers and they walk. So in our front door has two, like a double door French doors or whatever. And they were both open. And when you walk in, there's a big landing and stairs that go up. They didn't even make it to my stairs before they all backed out of the house. And they're like, we can't go into the house. The levels are way too high. Like their things were going bananas. So they shut the gas off to the house.
Justin's like right between the hot water tank.
Yeah, I was right in there, man.
He's like, I don't see any cracks. This is a load of crap.
I don't smell it. So they call Fortis, and Fortis is the gas company in BC, and they actually have people that work emergencies, so they are on call. So this Fortis guy comes out, and at this point, fire has the firefighters have opened all the windows and doors throughout the house, like gone through the back ways and opened them all up. And they have monster fans outside the front of my house and in the back of my house blowing fresh air into the house, trying to vent it out. Right. So Fortis shows up and he turns the gas on, and then he goes through the house with his little sensor to figure out where it's coming from. And we don't have we have no gas appliances. Like we've got a hot water tank, a furnace, and then 4 fireplaces, but nothing else is gas. We don't have a gas range.
Fireplaces?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we actually have 5, but one's electric.
Okay. So I remember a long time ago, there was somebody that I was really into back in youth group days, and her dad was really rich. And I remember, just because it was kind of the talk of the town, the monstrosity of their house, the amount of chimneys they had. Now, I don't even know, we're that old that I don't even know if gas fireplaces were a thing. You don't, chimneys, but that's awesome. 4 fireplaces. Yeah. Go ahead.
So they go through the house. The Fortis guy goes through the house and he's testing everything. And then he comes out and he says that he found out where it is. And he told us, I think he had disabled what it was. And so he was working at getting the levels down. But he said, it's safe for you guys to come in. I've got the levels at least on the main floor. Fine. So we come in, and essentially what had happened is our hot water tank. So a hot water tank typically has an 8 to 12 year lifespan. That's pretty average for them. Ours was 11 years old. 11 years old. So it was getting close to the end. But typically when a hot water tank dies, it just stops heating. It doesn't, whatever. What happened in our case was, if you've ever seen a hot water tank, at the top of the hot water tank, there's a little cone, and that vents the gas out of the hot water tank. And then that goes up through typically there's an exhaust up at the top of your roof or something. That flue, it's called a flue. For some reason, instead of the gas venting up through it, started to vent into the furnace room. And so what we figured out afterwards is Christina leaves, right? So she's here at 9 o'clock, and I think maybe running the dishwasher or something. That kicks the hot water tank on. We she leaves. When she came back and I had gotten it all to stop, well, obviously we don't know what it is. So she goes and runs a load of laundry. And for some reason in this particular case, she needed to use hot water because typically I think we wash in cold water. And so that would have kicked the hot water tank on. And so what happened is the carbon monoxide starts leaking into the furnace room, which then starts going in through the intakes in the house, getting pulled in through the AC, which is of course running. And that starts spreading it very, very quickly throughout the house. So when we were going over the numbers with him, he said that in your house, you should have 0 ppm. It's measured in parts per million. So 0 ppm is what you should have, but up to 9 is totally fine. It's pretty natural. It's not the end of the world. When you get up to the 20 to 40 range, you'll start to get headaches. You'll feel nauseous. You just won't feel good. Or 20 to 70 range. Long-term exposure can be fatal. It has to be quite a long time, but whatever. In the 150 to 200 ppm, that's when you're going to get tired, fatigued, and if you did go to sleep, it's fatal at that level. Our basement was 550 to 600 ppm, and now we have it's a 2-story with a basement. Our home, our top floor, which also our venting for our house actually only goes for the main floor in the basement. We don't have venting to the top floor. That's all done through electric heat, and the top floor had over 400 ppm in the top floor without the venting. That's just how fast this stuff spreads. And I asked him, I'm like, how does it go so quick? He says it's the same. It's almost the exact same density as air. So it will literally just flow. It's not like heavy. It doesn't like sit at the bottom. It literally will just go wherever the air goes.
Wow.
And yeah, so we had over 400 in the top floor and over 550 in the basement. And so anyway, he was there till 2:30 in the morning, working at getting the levels back down to 0 in the house.
And that's just through fans and turning off appliances.
Yeah, basically just he turned the gas off to the hot water tank so that it would stop where the leak was happening. And then he basically just he literally waits. He helps vent the house, and he wouldn't leave until, he was awesome, but he wouldn't leave until the levels were back down to 0.
Good.
And it was safe for us to go to sleep or whatever and be there for the evening.
And now all your neighbors are dead?
No, they're all fine. I don't know how many of them were standing outside watching with the fire truck there, but so he waits till 2:30. About 2:30, it all clears up. So anyway, long story short, make sure you have carbon monoxide detectors working, because it's actually, I was saying to you, I said to Chris too, that's not the way I want to go out. Like it would have been fatal to our whole family had we not had the carbon monoxide detectors, had we just gone to bed.
Wouldn't have woken up, and just all of a sudden, your friends, your family would have been like, they're all gone. Not just one, not just like getting hit by a car.
Yeah. It definitely made me feel really good about the money I had spent on the system and making sure that we have detectors. And it was, even he was checking out the app because he was curious how the nests work. And he was like, it's pretty, because it actually shows you the measurements of the ppm in these different rooms and what it was measuring. And sure enough, like my girl's bedroom was 480 ppm. Like it's just really scary to think what could happen if you don't have that kind of stuff. So make sure you have working carbon monoxide detectors, because they actually save lives. So anyway, I've got people in here. We had so they shut the gas off. They won't let you turn it back on. And then obviously you have to have like a proper gas fitter turn it back on. And then we were going to have to replace the hot water tank. So I had the company that did our AC came out and they gave me a quote, and we're actually moving to a tankless system. So
oh, really?
Been installing that. Yeah. I've always wanted
as many people as you have in your house are going tankless, huh?
Yeah.
You think
the
it
big
can keep
ones
up with
that
the
they
demand?
have. Yep. The big ones that you can buy. We bought the biggest one that you can get, and he said it won't have any problem for the size of our house and the amount of people we have. I'm excited for it. I'm at least happy because they're all smart now. So it's got like computers built into the box. So if it ever had noticed a leak or anything, it automatically shuts everything off. So it's much more expensive, but it saves you long term, because your cost
you'll start
to heat your
saving
water
money
is
in
much
20
lower.
years.
Right. But instead of an 8 to 12 year lifespan that a hot water tank has, they have a 25 to 30 year lifespan. So it sucks up front, but it does make sense for us long term. And it was something I always wanted to switch out to. So yeah, if there's noise in the background or people, like I can see on my cameras that they just pulled back up, but I've left all the house open for them. So they're installing that. Thankfully, they basically fit us in around their other jobs, because I was like, I just care about you getting. I've had cold showers all week, which is fine. I actually like cold showers,
like
but
mid 30
nobody.
degree weather. What perfect timing for cold showers.
Well, my wife and all my kids would disagree with you, but they've been going to my mother-in-law's place this week for hot water and showers and stuff. But yeah, it was that was the majority. I mean, my week has kind of revolved around that because there's been a lot of stuff for us to sort out with the company afterwards, and my work has been insane. It's been a great week. Like my son came over and we hung out for a bit, and yeah, overall it was good. It was actually funny because we were on the driveway of our house when it passed 12. I think it was like 10 after midnight. And I looked over at Christina. I was like, well, happy anniversary. Cause that was that was our anniversary day. So yeah, we did go out that evening, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a week, man. But yeah, make sure you got working carbon monoxide detectors because it's see, I don't know if you can hear that, but I can hear them working. Yeah. If it's in the episode, it's in the episode. That's real life, you know. Sometimes people have to fix your stuff,
save your life, and give you hot water. Well,
yep.
Two things. I'm glad you and yours are all alive because I think you're all fantastic, and we all know this is Christina's fault.
Yeah, 100%.
Stop doing stuff.
Yeah, you turn on you friggin' need to wash with hot water. Come on.
Yeah. Rude. Anyway,
it actually worked out really well. I'm glad that she did happen to do that because otherwise the hot water tank wouldn't have kicked on probably till the morning when they were having showers, and my girls were freaked, and we lied to them and just said, you know, it's fine. We have to be careful. You can't have those levels. It can make you really tired, and it's not good if it makes you tired. And my youngest is like, so you just go to sleep? And we're like, yep,
forever.
And she's like, but you wake up. So yeah, anyway, it was I'm glad it's all behind me now and it's all sorted and yeah.
Yeah, if she didn't turn on that last load of laundry, you'd all be toast.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been good. And because it was still slow leaking into the house. I mean, again, we have the detectors for a reason. So it would have gone off at a certain point. It would have been very hard for us to
sleep through it,
for it to be fatal for us. But I would much rather have dealt with it just the two of us in the house or just myself in the house versus all my kids. But I was laughing to the Fortis guy. I was like, he's showing me in the furnace room where it's leaking and how it's leaking. And I was laughing at him. I'm like, I was in this room.
Yeah.
Trying to see. And he's like, it's a good thing you weren't in here for very long because the gas spewing out of here. And I said to him, like, we got just the smallest whiff of gas. And he says there's some combustion effect that happens and you can sometimes smell. It's just a very faint gas smell, but otherwise carbon monoxide is literally undetectable. You'd have no idea you're breathing it in. So fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here we are. We might hit 150.
Yeah, we still will make it to 150.
Oh, Justin, you have not read The Count of Monte Cristo.
No, I've watched the movie. Was it in the movie?
Yeah, actually, yeah. They continue the theme in the movie. They see this couple gets engaged, and then everybody keeps. And they're like a community-friendly couple. Everybody knows them, and everybody's like, "Oh, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs." And then the last name, and then they're all like, "Oh, no, it hasn't happened yet. Don't curse us." And lo and behold, stuff happens. Someone goes to prison. This and that, and then it never happens because everybody kept jumping the gun. We haven't hit 150 yet, just.
Kings to you, Tyler.
Your new hot water tank that's not a hot water tank, but you got the biggest kind of whatever isn't a hot water tank might explode on one. No,
I went down. I was talking to them yesterday, and I was like, "So," because they know what happened. I'm like, "What? How do we avoid that with this one?" And the guy was telling me about all the safety features it has, and I'm like, "All right, fine, continue."
You have passed my inspection.
That's right. I'll accept it.
The Jerry Seinfeld reference that Justin and I went. This is probably just for regular listeners, but we often say, "I'm holding it with my arm." And there's one of his 1990s sketches. It's one of his stand-up comedies. I don't know if it's in any of his actual Seinfeld episodes, but he's talking about, like, you see those people that are going to places like IKEA or another furniture store, and they've got like this big mattress on their little car, and you see them, even though the mattress is all tied down, they have their arm outside their window, kind of like holding the mattress as well. And he's just kind of making fun of the mentality.
Joking about the stupidity of,
right, like, what's going to happen if one of those ropes break? Your arm's going to keep the mattress on your car till you get home. Hey, no, don't worry, guys, don't worry. I'm holding it with my arm. So anyway,
it's true.
Good job,
Sometimes
Justin.
you're just really stupid, but thankfully my wife was smart, took my kids out, and you know what? In the end, it's all fine. It was an experience. We had a great anniversary until 2:30 in the morning, and then we both literally died. We were so tired, and we did go out though. We went out that evening. My mom came to my house and she was like, so are we safe? I was like, yeah, but you have no hot water.
That's
so
right. Kids are in the house. Okay, come on. It's not going to put them in the house without you. All right.
After I talked to the Fortis guy, I was like, can I use my AC? And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. Once it's all vented, then you can turn it on. So
awesome.
When they were doing some of the install work yesterday, they turned it off for like 3 hours. Man, in such a short amount of time, the temperature in my house just like went up. So I went to talk to him today, and I was like, I have stuff to do today in my office. Are you going to leave my thing alone, my AC alone? He's like, yeah, it should be fine. We've done all the electrical. And
awesome.
I think they're just hooking up gas and the venting today. Yep. So anyway, life's good. Life's good.
Yes.
Let's talk Path of Exile. Who knows how long we're into this episode? Tyler and I had some audio issues.
Yeah, some Discord issues. Thanks for nothing.
There is a point in the episode, I don't know if you can find it, but we had like a 20-minute break because, not actually 20 minutes, but we had to troubleshoot. So let's talk Path of Exile. There's a few.
We're going to skip some stuff with no offense intended, but there was another community showcase, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. There's a sculpture in there, which I think is amazing. I appreciate artsy fartsy stuff. As you can tell, when I call it artsy fartsy, I'm not artsy fartsy, but I absolutely love it. Though I'm a huge music fan. My family is like big music stuff, career and hobby wise. Not me, wasn't gifted, but you know, I can show you the world. Right. Then there was a sweet div card story again. I like those ones. And this one was like a card
story
like you and me. Well, yeah, it wasn't as
cool,
as emotional as some of the other ones are, which is, you know, in this case, it was kind of nice. They're just big fans, a big group of friends going to Exile cons about their favorite leagues. So I like hearing about that. So, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to skip over it quickly for those that are listening that might have an emotional attachment to those two things, but also, and this is kind of a weird thing to skip to, but the supporter packs are leaving the store, Justin.
Right.
And that happens every league. It does. Normally when a support pack leaves, you don't care too much. You've either bought them or you've chosen not to.
Bought them.
Well, what's the proper word? Bought.
Just bought.
Oh, bought sounds way better. Anyway, well, you've either purchased them. See, that's why English sucks. There's 1,000 words that mean one word, and it's the exact same freaking definition.
Mm-hmm.
Most have already purchased it or chosen not to. Some, of course, are going to go on the payment plan, and that's awesome, which I think is really cool that they actually have that. But these support packs are different. These are the ones that started that like
the
interactive
era.
Right? Yeah, like they had blah blah blah.
Love it.
I bought the one where they had the interactive portal where I forget if it scaled on the tier or I think it was the tier. The flower got bigger. The map device got bigger. Then there was, I also, because I was part of the same pack, I got the cloak that kind of, it got longer and a little flashier depending on if your resistances were capped or not. So it's fun once you get your resistances capped, right? Because you can see the difference of it visually. Well, barely. I like zombies, so I can't see anything ever. But
you're not seeing anything.
You know, it's that kind of thing.
It's there though. But you know, it
was the introduction of MTX that interacted with mechanics of your game, which to us, I remember very clearly that episode. It blew our minds. I'm like, this is not possible. This is futuristic. And so
I feel like they keep that direction going forward. So I'm excited for the next set of supporter packs.
You know, like it not as a criticism if they didn't do that, but it would be disappointing if from this point forward they didn't, right?
Would you be fine if they swap back and forth though? Because maybe that wouldn't be so bad either.
Yeah, totally.
If they swap back and forth, but maybe if they do that, maybe telling people that that's the plan versus just going back to the other way and not saying anything, and then people would be like,
people can just chill out and wait 3 months to see what the next support pack is. Like if this one goes back to the usual style, I
still think it would be good to say we love doing it. We do have plans to do that in the future. But that we didn't maybe want that to be all of our support packs. So I love it though.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
So for sure. And I honestly, I almost never buy support packs. I buy small things individually, whether it's an extra support tab or a $2 pet. And like they had that huge pet sale this weekend. So I sign up on my console. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I scroll through all the pets. I'm going to buy everything that's 20 points or under. Didn't have any. So of course I bought a Weta. And yeah, anyway, it was, but it'd be really cool. Like, I'm excited to see the other ways they can think of interacting with the game, with the MTX that they have. because those are things that I never would have thought of, like a map device that gets bloomier as your tiers increase with your allocated map. And so, that kind of stuff is really neat. I'm excited to see what that is. But I'm sure there's other people. Like I remember people grumbling on Reddit being like, what about the armor stuff? Which, of course, their answer was do challenges, right? I mean, a lot of people have forgotten how generous the challenges were this stuff. I think they changed how difficult and grindy the challenges were, but they gave you 10 times an exaggeration, but more rewards, right? So, yeah. So anyway, I bring that up because I'm kind of excited to see what the next step of this is. And I'd be fine if it's back to the usual, right? And it goes back and forth. They figure it out. But yeah, no, it was really curious about what's coming next. Really curious. Yeah. And then, as I said, I only bought a Weta. I might have to up my game a little bit, Justin, but that gets pricey, right? My threshold is 20 points and under for any pet that's 20 points and under, and they're roaming free. I probably have a ton of pet poop in my hideout. So if you come in my hideout, just ignore it, right? I have a lot of cats, okay? But if I up it to 30 points and under, all of a sudden there's this like another, I don't know, 20 more pets. And all of a sudden 20 pets times 3, like that's another $60 all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Is that for 30 points, $3?
30 points is $3. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And on console, it's nice because it's $30 Canadian. But if I do it, which is why I've been doing it on, or why I'm happy to continue doing it on console as opposed to PC, because on PC it's all American prices.
It's the same point value on console, but you're paying in Canadian,
right? But
well, that's a way better deal.
It is individually, but packs are way more expensive, and I'll never buy a pack on console.
Okay.
So, for example, like something that would be $60 American on the PC will be like $80 Canadian on console, just for the packs, right? Just for the packs. And so anyway, that's why I do the individual purchases, and I like that kind of collective thing. But if I went to the 30 point tier as my new threshold, my wife would be staring at me through the budget, be like, I don't approve this.
But look at this tiger.
Hey, you know what though? When she was
Not
into
a tiger,
PoE,
it'd be like a roach or something.
When she was into PoE, she was looking at some of those dragons and be like, I could spend the 240 points just this once, right? She was looking at the dragons, seeing which ones were which. But then we ordered pizza instead, and that was that. So, but anyway, yeah. So there was that. Also, Camille's got a Camille too. He named him Michael. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. I did see that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna try and answer and get involved in the conversation with you, but I'm nervous about the amount of noise happening.
I can hear.
So I apologize. You won't hear the stuff when Tyler's talking because obviously that comes out. But if I'm in the middle of saying something, you may hear those guys going to town. But yeah, I did see it. It's really cool. I love that he's somebody who's like got a lot of time invested into Path of Exile too. Like he's one of those people that saw the post when they did it and thought, I'll apply. And I think he said he actually reached out to Camille.
Yeah, he applied quite a few times, he said, and it didn't work out. And he reached out to Camille specifically. Camille saw that Michael used a lot of the same methods and programming that he did. Sorry, I'm probably getting it wrong. But anyway, it was neat to see the process of how the hiring happened, but also that Camille's workload is just that heavy with leagues coming out, expansions coming out, which are different. And we'll get into that in a second. And then like Path of Exile 2. And I think we mentioned just a couple episodes ago, like there's a huge, it's got to be so cool, but also, I mean, astonishingly time consuming to actually create a new score for an entire game. I think we did this when Camille came out with his, I forgot the name of the game, but he came.
Broken Road. Broken Road. I'm trying
Broken
to
Road or
Broken Road. Broken Path. Broken something.
Anyway, yeah, when we were talking about Camille's new score for a different game, we were talking about like the amount of time that goes into actually creating the entire theme for the whole game, because that's what your score is at the end of the day. All the extra stuff you do for leagues and announcements, that theme has to carry through everything else you do, right? It's not like all of a sudden you're going to be like, I'm in a disco mode. So it's pretty cool to hear the demand, even on a department like music, let alone the testing and
Broken
development.
Ranks.
Broken Ranks.
I didn't want to say the wrong one.
Broken
Ranks.
Way cooler name than
way better than Broken Road or Broken.
My pebbles repave this road. But anyway, yeah. So Michael, that's really awesome. We'll have you on the show sometime, and we'll grill you as to how good of a boss Camille is, because we heard he's a horrible boss. Horrible boss. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Camille. Anyway,
totally.
So, big deal for us because we're massive PoE nerds. But you know how Bex always uses hints in her tweets to, hint.
Right, tease.
Tease. Yep. There you go. Yeah. She hints at hints coming out for hinty things. Yeah, no, so she does a lot of teases that you don't realize are teases. But this individual, the Moth Lord on Twitter, nailed it and absolutely did it. So there's an announcement. Hang on, am I doing this out of order? Let me check.
Well, it's fine. You're teasing us with the announcement we're going to talk about in a minute.
Well, do you want me to do how Moth Lord figured it out, or do you want me to say the name? Okay. So Bex is tweeting out a bunch of stuff. She said, or Path of Exile says, in 319, you'll be able to find a new type of oil that allows you to anoint mirrored items. What? And then, right? So now that's really cool. Like, what's going on there? That actually kind of blows your mind a bit, because mirrored items are either junk or amazing because of the rarity of the Mirror of Kalandra on itself, right? It's either you have this perfect item that you have to have two of, or you click on a strong box where everything's mirrored and everything's junk, right? So that kind of blows your mind, where it's like, okay, oils to being applied to mirrored items. Okay, it gets your brain going. Now, the Moth Lord actually guessed what the theme of the name would be, and Bex congratulated them later once the league name was revealed. But oh my goodness, that is really small. I got to zoom that in. All right, so the Moth Lord says in one of her posts, Bex used quote unquote reflection in her last post. And now something about mirrored items is posted by GGG. This is definitely not a coincidence. Also, Bex posted a post about a guy finding a mirrored item on his test realm. So Bex said something along the lines of, one of our testers found his first mirrored item, but we felt really bad for him because it was on the testing realm and it means nothing.
A mirror, not a mirrored item.
Right, sorry, yes. His first Mirror of Kalandra. And so Moth Lord says, she uses reflection in one of her posts. GGG posts something about a mirrored item and oils. Then the Moth Lord says the post about the guy finding a mirror on the test realm. He says this is not a coincidence. So his guess for he says Path of Exile, something of Kalandra, predicting it. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. Yeah, he was. Now, here's another interesting thing that we'll get into, but Don Federico replied to the Moth Lord and said, I don't think so. League names are one word only. Expansions are more than one word. And I never, ever clued into that. Like, I always knew league names were one word, but if, like, when this league name, which we'll say, I mean, it's not like a spoiler, everybody listening already knows what it's called, but this league name was more than one word, I was like, huh, neat. So anyway.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, this league name reveal, when you click on it and all that kind of stuff, it's called, what's it called?
Lake of Kalandra.
Lake of Kalandra. And even Soja, before I'd like caught on to the whole Moth Lord bit, Soja, when he was watching my stream last night, said like, that's a really long name reveal. Like, they're normally one word. And I'm like, you're right. But then when I see this, it says the August expansion name reveal, not a league reveal. And they said they weren't really going to do expansions anymore. They were going to, like, normal word here, not like quote unquote word, but they were going to expand the end game, but it was just going to be like tweaking up the end game until Path of Exile 2.
But it's actually weird that they called it the August expansion name reveal, not the August league.
Right. So now
I don't know that actually means anything.
It means everything.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, but then there's other stuff like this. This is actually very exciting for me. Just that league reveal name is crazy, because remember back in the day, Jonathan, I think it was, sorry if that's wrong, but he revealed how bummed GGG was when someone from the team years ago referred to Kalandra in a post as she. Like, that's it. That's all they said. But then the community knew that Kalandra was a she, as opposed to any other type of person. Right, exactly. Just any type of entity. There was now the she tag to Kalandra. And I remembered whoever it was, my memory says Jonathan, was like the just team was really bummed, and there was like no fault. It's a very easy mistake to make, but that's how mystical they wanted Kalandra to be. And now, oh, what's her name that always does the lore videos, and she does a fantastic job?
Kitten Cat Noodle.
Right? Yeah, she and people that follow the lore just like her would probably know, but I wouldn't. That they've been like, Mom, they have been shush on.
There's been nothing.
Kalandra. Right. So this kind of thing is like, so I know you don't care about PoE 2 until it comes out. This for me is like PoE 2 is around the corner. You start.
Oh, FYI, that's their small additional announcement.
Right?
When they said we're making a small additional announcement, I've read it. We also have a small additional announcement we'll be making at the start of the live stream. I was like, that's PoE 2 release.
That's right. It's not. Yeah. No, I don't.
It has to be.
There's no small announcement. There's going to be something about.
Why would you even say that? Why would you say anything there unless it's something that's actually a relatively big deal?
Right. Maybe Path of Exile 2, the expansion is going to be called Lake of Kalandra. And that's actually, instead of calling it Path of Exile 2, maybe it'll be called the Lake of Kalandra.
My hope is maybe there's just a release date. I don't actually think there will. I'm saying that for fun, that it's a PoE 2 as a small announcement, but that would be awesome. It's just funny to throw in this, like, we have a small additional announcement we'll be making. It can't be small if you have to say that. There's some meat to whatever that announcement is. But we'll find out on the 11th.
So
11th of August is when they do the announcement, and then the 19th of August is when the legal starts. So
I don't
8 days to just like lose your mind between the announcement and actually playing
the league reveal. But here's the thing, like that league reveal is going to get massive numbers, because for even people that don't even play every league but are big Path of Exile fans, something about Kalandra is going to attract a ton of attention. That small detail, an additional announcement, people might not notice that just because they don't look at the post. Like that comment isn't in the lore video at all. But just, I don't know, the prospect that, like, so to me, the idea that Kalandra is getting more attention just leads me to the prospect that her story is going to expand. They're going to get there somehow, or she's going to be a part of PoE 2. But like that adaptation of the story, or funneling the story to Kalandra, which has been in the game since the dawn of time. Like, were Mirrors of Kalandra in the first 2 or 3 acts when that was all that was? To me, it's always
I want to say
been
yes. I think they've been around for a very long time. I don't remember if they were original, but I would say they probably were.
So to finally start including that with a little bit more expansion into lore, to me, that's like PoE 2 is close. Now, obviously, I don't know. They're very tricksy, as Gollum would say, trixies.
I think the coolest part of it is it's not just called Kalandra. It's called Lake of Kalandra, which is like, okay, so what does that mean then?
That's right. Who's that guy that has all the tricksy movies? He like with the red doorknobs, and then what's it called? M. Night Shyamalan. Shyamalan? They're tricksy like him. They're very deceiving. So even if it's like the Lake of Kalandra, you might not learn anything more about the entity of Kalandra.
We're going underwater.
Yeah, you think it's going to be a scuba diving league?
Next. It's so loud. It's so loud. Every time I think I'm going to say, every time I think I'm going to say something, they're like, I don't know what could they be doing?
Is that from the floor, the walls, the ceiling?
They're underneath me. And not even directly. They're like underneath me and about 15 feet backwards.
Well, you just tell them to shush their mush while they're fixing your house, okay?
Yeah.
But anyway,
no, I can't. I need hot water or my wife is going to leave.
But I'm really curious, because some of these story writers who I would love to have on the show one day, they talk about, like, they're really into their lore. And I kind of feel bad saying I haven't been that interested in the lore, but there's certain unanswered questions that, like, it's not the direct storytelling that always interests me. And I think, like, maybe that's the Dark Souls player in me, the Elden Ring player in me, where I'm just playing, I'm getting the XP, I'm doing the fighting, and then all of a sudden I learned something about a character that was in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm not the kind of player that wants to sit down and read it all. And so maybe that's where, like, the From Software style player in me really, I guess, maybe attaches to that lore. And then every now and then there's a discovery. To me, unless there's been hints that, of course, are in kind of this little novel-esque aspect of lore here. But to me, Kalandra's in that same kind of description where it's like, there exists. So I'm really curious to see if the Lake of Kalandra actually references the specifics of the individual, or if it's just there's like a realm about Kalandra that starts to be revealed.
I like both ways of playing games, but for me, the story has to be the actual game, and Path of Exile is not that. Like, it's not a story-driven game. So if I'm playing a game where it's a story-driven game, then I really do care about it. Path of Exile, for me, on the Kalandra side, I don't actually care that much about her lore. I'm just excited for a new league. But I think the part that made it even more fun is that it's called Lake of Kalandra, which, again, I have mental capacity for that doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to go like, well, what do we think that could be? In my head, we're building a base underwater and we're going to live in the lake with the fishes. And for some reason, Kalandra is like the goddess of the lake. Mm-hmm. And she allows us to live in her space. And she just randomly duplicates items. Like, clearly that is the lore for her. So that's about as far as my brain goes. I don't overthink these things. I can't try to put it together. I just love that it's called the Lake of Kalandra. That, to me, that's so much different than just calling the league Kalandra or something. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something obviously behind that, which is fun. I think that's fun.
Maybe she gives you a nice sensual kiss, but it gives you the ability to breathe underwater, but you get so excited a baby pops out and there's your mirrored item.
So the problem is, no matter what they do, Path of Exile is not story driven at all. So without a cutscene or something, I don't care. Right. I really don't. Just let me play the game. Maybe there's some new items. Hopefully this league, there's some new skills. That's Path of Exile for me. I didn't get into it to watch to read the lore. It's not made that way at all. They could probably change that to where it was more, and maybe PoE 2 will be a little bit more story driven where you care about it, but that's not Path of Exile. So
no, it's not. Not how they've done the story. There are aspects of the story I care about, but it's only stuff that I can discover as I'm playing. Like, to me, I'm playing for the XP. To me, I'm playing to level my gems. To me, I'm playing to level my character. To me, I'm playing to further my gear, and I'm not stopping to be interested in that kind of stuff.
The only level of a story I'm aware of is why you're completing the acts and who you're fighting, and that's pretty much it. After that, outside of that, I have no clue besides what other people have told me.
Yeah, I'm
what's actually happening in the game.
I'm barely there. As the kind of like clicks that happen into my head, I have to get rid of all the exclamation marks in town, but I'm never listening to what they say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm the same way. So
see, the story that I recognize, like, for example, when you're in, I don't know, where's Arakali? Is that Act 6, 7, something like that? The big spider boss with the purple
8.
beams? Okay. So Silk is there, right? Oh, I recognize that guy from the encampment, and he's talking about something while I'm fighting. Okay, I can kind of grasp what you're saying, but listen, buddy, I'm a little busy. But then all of a sudden he gets eaten because he's an idiot.
I did get his love for Arakali and his like messed up love for her. I don't remember how I came across that, but I did get it and found it funny that he got eaten by the spider.
But then I see his head impaled on Arakali as the fight continues after he gets eaten. See, that's the kind
never noticed that.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I notice. And that's the kind of stuff where with Elden Ring, like when I walk into a level and it's a fallen kingdom that's crumbling and it's half in lava, but then you start seeing the statues. Like, to me, that's where I gather the storytelling. And so I'm excited to see where this kind of Lake of Kalandra goes to, because there's a lot of dialogue I miss in this. And I don't mean to make it offensive to anybody that puts all that effort into their novel. They could have written their own book, but instead they dedicated it to GGG. And so I don't mean to, because I would absolutely love to write my own stories one day. But I think the world itself does so much explaining in the game as well. And with how they presented the Path of Exile 2 world, right? Like, remember the cathedral, and we were talking to Camille about the cathedral as well when we had him on, because of how epic that music sounded, and I think he brought it up. But there's just so much that the world can tell. So when you bring up something like, it's not called Kalandra, it's the Lake of Kalandra, just the world that anyway, I'm kind of rambling on about stuff we've already mentioned, but pretty exciting. You know, one game though, this isn't Path of Exile, but I'm a very XP driven player, right? Like, even when I play stuff like, well, I probably won't play any more Fallout games, but even when I used to play Fallout games, I barely paid attention to what was happening. You know what I mean? I'd like, if I skipped dialogue and then I was forced with a choice, I'd be apathetic to my choice because I didn't care. I just wanted XP. So I would have my charisma high and all this kind of stuff. I loved getting XP for discovering a place. One game that I think was XP driven, but it was more story driven, was Deus Ex. When I played the first, I didn't ever actually get to the second Deus Ex because by the time that game came out, my concussion symptoms were off the charts. But the first Deus Ex game I played, the first Deus Ex game, I did play. And even though it was all about XP and leveling up and figuring out your minor RPG paths, I was walking by crowds that were just doing their generic chit chat, and I was interested in everything they said. Like, that was a game, but that's the kind of game where I care about story. That's the kind of game where I care about someone's dialogue. That's the kind of game where I will read notes. In this game, it's all annoying. Just let the levels tell me the story. That's kind of how it is for me anyway, just because it's such a faster paced game where XP per minute really, really can count. Anywho, do you know how long we've been recording? Because we're on our second recording and
not a clue. I think you're gonna have to cut some of these items though.
Yeah, I will. So there's two things that I want to say. Oh wow, we didn't even get to how was your PoE week. So we'll just probably have to skip.
I can tell you mine.
Yeah, I know what yours was like. You were just busy living, and that's good enough for me. Here's a quick thing. As the company starts going forward, do you remember the issues that I had? And the reason I want to, this is a total, like, cut the conversation. There's no segue, new subject line here.
Lake of Kalandra, August 11th, August 18th, or 19th, whatever it is. There you go.
24th for console folk, I think it was.
Sometime in August.
All right.
Okay.
So remember when Arch Nemesis came out? It was well tested, well vetted according to GGG. They did this, but there has been some massive changes to it and the severity of these mods and stuff like that going forward. So massive changes. I've been wanting to say this for a long time, but I always think the testing team, the quality assurance team, needs to be left in the dark. And I know that sucks for a quality assurance team to like work for the company that you've always loved, but to me, the quality assurance team cannot have any knowledge. They need to be users. They need to be players. And if the quality assurance team is aware of intentions, is aware of potential designs, that completely modifies their current opinion of what they're playing, right? Like, we've heard GGG many times saying this was very well tested. But then when the users get their hands on it, it's like, there's no information. There's nothing like this. So, for example, GGG was working on giving us the Arch Nemesis mods to make things simpler. Obviously, that complicated things more than it simplified things, because now we have, let's say you click on, or like you can pause the game and you highlight a rare enemy. You have 3-4 Arch Nemesis mods, which give you no information outside of experience, but there's 80 of them as we've discussed, and that really doesn't help us determine the difference between steel infused, gargantuar, other types of defensive modifiers, right? There's nothing there. But then you can see this, they still, for some reason, have a long list of white modifiers that are very blunt and tell you exactly what's happening, right? Like faster attack speed, faster cast speed, immune, or not immune, but like resistant to chaos damage or vulnerable to chaos damage, that kind of stuff. You having a good time over there? You really want to say stuff, but they're so loud in the background.
Well, they are loud, but I was laughing at, I love that you call it a gargantuar.
Oh, it's gargantuan.
You've always called it that.
It's N, isn't it, at the end? That's
but
right.
It makes me laugh.
I know, giggles.
Yeah, it's just like a chieftain.
Right.
He's dumb, but he's cute.
I don't know about the cute part either. But my point is if the quality assurance team doesn't know the intentions and the purpose of what the overall goal is, they're going to test it more like a user. They're not going to have a goal in their head like, okay, well, this is the goal. Okay, that makes sense, because they have knowledge that the user will never have, that the player will never have. And you can see this through quite a few different leagues now, where the league was thoroughly tested, but it was dramatically changed after the fact, after players actually played. And the difference is knowledge and expectation. And so I think going forward, especially now as GGG gets, I mean, maybe Path of Exile 2 is the next expansion for all we know. But what I'm saying is, I mean, even Camille posted something along the lines of, as I'm full hands on deck with Path of Exile 2 stuff, and then he posted something else. But if going forward, whether Path of Exile 2 is the next expansion or in 20 expansions, the quality assurance team, in my opinion, needs to be left in the dark. And that sucks as an employee because you really want to know stuff, but that's how you test a game, because that's how you.
But they're not testing the whole game though. Well, when a league comes out, they're testing the league side of it. They're not. I don't think they're. I think it would be hard to leave them completely in the dark because they would need to know what they're testing. They're not testing the whole game. They're testing.
Sure, but there is a difference between being a part of the meetings and knowing everything that's talked about versus the bare minimum. For example, now GGG very easily could have a quality assurance set up a completely different way. But when I worked at Electronic Arts, you would have, like when I was working on FIFA, for example, you would have one person that was working on audio, right? You'd have one person that was assigned to gameplay. You'd have one person that was in charge of the front end and back end. That's like the menu stuff and making sure that integration worked properly. You'd have one person that was meant for, I forget what the C word is, but it was like making sure that there wasn't anything illegal in the game, like you're reading signs and decals and
copyright.
Yeah, it was something else. But anyway, like there's just like there was the assignments of how things worked, and then so I'm assuming with something like Path of Exile, if they had a similar setup, you would also have people set up to, okay, so these are the skills and these are how they work, and then you would have somebody that was just generally playing the game as well, right? And so it's just one of those things where, because there's been so many changes after the fact, even though the game is thoroughly tested, there's something there where quality assurance knows too much. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true. I don't know enough about how they're set up, but I think they need to know what they're testing. And because it's coming out every 3 months, they're not really testing the existing game. They're testing whatever the content is that's coming out. That's what I would think. And you'd have to know what that content coming out is
to an extent.
And to an extent, I actually don't think it's a bad thing I don't think to an extent, but I don't think it's a bad thing if a QA understands the direction that the developers are trying to go. I think that's probably beneficial as long as they can say, as long as it's fine for them to say this, we're not really feeling that it is doing that. You know what I mean? Because how do you have a QA test something without having some idea of what it's supposed to be?
Oh, sure, but I think you're kind of taking it to an extreme. Like you have, okay, so this is what we're trying to introduce, see what you think, as opposed to being a part of the meetings and knowing the overall mentality and thought process is a very different thing.
Are you assuming that they do that? Like,
yes, but history kind of supports that, where every league, it's said that this was really well tested. I mean, obviously not all the way back in time, because of course they've changed how they test and they make things. But the last quite a few leagues, Chris has said, like, this was really well tested. But then massive changes come when the actual users start playing, where they have none of that information that if you were a part of the meeting. So I think they need to know less, I guess is what I should say. Not nothing, but they need to know less, because it would be nice if there were. We're still kind of at that stage in Path of Exile land, and I hope it's fixed or it doesn't continue into Path of Exile 2, but we're still at that stage where if you wait 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, whatever it is, the 2 to 1 month, 2 weeks to 1 month after league launch, you'll have a much more stable and relaxed game without dramatic changes. And that, to me, is something that I hope is fixed, because Path of Exile, with how they work, and I want them to be as successful as possible, you have that, like, their league launches are massive, right? Chris said the Path of Exile 2 expansion, they're expecting, what was that game that came out that people switched to just for a little bit? Lost something?
Lost.
Yeah. He was wanting those kind of release numbers, but you can't have those numbers and then make these dramatic changes. Like, I assume their goal is to actually have it the way that they would want it 1 month later, but at launch. And to me, a lot of that comes with how quality assurance is fed information.
So my just, I guess, final comment on that is, I don't think you'll ever have a league that comes out that's fully tested to the nth degree that a league can be tested when it goes released to hundreds of thousands of people. And the reason for that is because their schedule is every 3 months. And so to bring in something new to the game in a game that's as complex as Path of Exile is, I don't know what the size of their QA is, but even if it's 50, which I don't know it's that big.
My teams
let's
at
say it's
EA
50.
were like 10 until the last
10.
month.
Right. So let's be a little more realistic. EA versus Grinding Gear Games, it's not going to be as big. I don't think it's possible for them to actually fully test a league every 3 months with the amount of complexity in Path of Exile. It's not the same as 80% of the games out there, which are not complex in the degree that Path of Exile is. So I don't know. I don't think they're actually, I actually am fine with where it's at. I think they do a pretty good job of testing it beforehand. And there are certainly some leagues where they have to make some pretty big adjustments, but I think that's just the nature of things when you're releasing every 3 months and you have a game as complex as Path of Exile is. I don't think you'll ever see a league come out that is fully flushed out, unless it's a very simple league, maybe.
I agree.
I think when they make big changes, you're going to see it every single league.
I agree. But don't you think that they want to improve that a bit?
Well, but your solution to improving that isn't going to be telling QA less. Your solution to improving that is either going to be cutting out content and not making big changes, or drastically increasing your QA size and time to test, which isn't really possible in a 3-month cycle. I personally don't care if they change it or not. I know some people probably do. My personal preference or opinion, not preference, but opinion is do whatever you do. And I'll play the new league every 3 months. And some leagues are going to not be, I can't think of any league in a very long time that has come out that has just been garbage. Arch Nemesis was just overtuned. That didn't take them that long to at least adjust it. I still don't like it. I still thinks there's fixes they could do, but I haven't had a league in a long time where I'm like, oh my God, this doesn't work. It's a difference of like something's overtuned or something's, but where a league comes out and something actually didn't work, I can't think of a league like that in quite a while.
Sure, it's been a long time, but you had the worst league launch you've ever had, is my point.
Only out of my frustration because of Arch Nemesis.
But it wasn't comes not working. From quality assurance feedback. Whether it was said and ignored or wasn't said, I don't know. But that's kind of my point. Like, that was a crappy first half week or week. And so my point is,
but telling them less, how would that change that?
Well, because there's how do you have a bunch of people that are playing the game and you're like, yes, this, we've been recording for over an hour because now my phone's off D&D, but how do you have that many people playing the game and that leveling process is okay? That's kind of my point. So they obviously have some sort of mentality or play skill where, yes, this is fine, this is our expectation, versus no, we're going to immediately change this. So there's something in there that I think needs to change this definitely before Path of Exile 2, and they need a few leagues of nailing that down before it comes out.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Arch Nemesis is the only one that I can think of where it had something like that. And I don't think, no matter what you told QA, I don't think telling them more or less changes that. I think either people didn't speak up or they thought, it's fine. Let's just see how it goes out, and let's get the opinions of a larger group of people. But I don't think what you tell them or not tell them makes any difference to that. And if I take Arch Nemesis out of it and just look to the past 5-6 leagues up until Harvest wasn't great, but I don't think there was content changes, things that were league changing or even endgame related that to me didn't at least seem somewhat thought out and fleshed out, where it wasn't massive changes required or it was breaking the game in any way. Sorry, I'm just watching the camera. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. My personal opinion, I know that you're on a different page and other people are, but I don't think it's fair to think, well, is it fair? I don't know. I guess it probably is fair to think, but it's unrealistic to think that Path of Exile on a release schedule of every 3 months is going to come out in the expanse that is Path of Exile with a flushed out league. Everything works perfectly every single time.
Well, perfectly is not the word I'm going for. It's just dramatic changes to the core elements.
I think that's normal. That's happened for every league for such a long time.
We're used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's bad though. I just don't. I don't think it kills their game off. I can't think of a time where it was so drastic that it was enough for me to go like, I don't want to play.
Gotcha.
So anyway,
before you sign off, last little prediction before the little snippets start coming out and all the teasers are going to start coming before the league launch reveal, which is what, week and a half, 2 weeks?
Less than 2 weeks.
I don't see skills like determination changing. I think they stay.
I agree. I think so.
I think they're actually in a very good place. And the reason that there are so many hundreds players that are reaching level 100 isn't because of the defensive values of certain skills and how much easier it is to be defensive. I think it's because of the Atlas passive tree and the amount of XP you can get from it doing things you love. There's a massive
and also
XP
you throw
increase.
onto it like Sentinel was massive for increasing mobs and stuff.
So I think those would be the things, like when Chris sees how many hundreds there are and he wants there to only be maybe 5 a league, but there's 500 or whatever, 5,000, I don't know. I see him looking at like how XP works, not defenses.
No way. Really? You think they would cut XP?
Not necessarily cut XP, but definitely that they are giving people way more XP than there's ever been.
But that's what people want. People want to fight lots
I get
of mobs.
that, but see, it's a hard balance there, but I don't think cutting defenses is the way to do it, and I don't think determination is too strong. Like if you have zero investment, into physical damage mitigation, and you throw that determination on, you're at like 50-ish%, which is
right,
fine.
and you're also spending 50% of your mana if you don't put any investment.
So I actually see them going a different route. I don't know the method they'll go to try and call the amount of hundreds that there are out there, but I see something like a spell suppression aura that costs 50% mana reservation coming out. I see them actually
spell suppression.
So I think a lot of people are thinking,
so you get a percent.
Yeah, I think people are thinking that determination and grace are going to get cut, or maybe defiance, because that's kind of a go-to as well. But I see them actually going the other way and keeping that, having a spell suppression aura that also costs 50% mana reservation, and then trying to call the hundreds in a different way.
Man, what would your spell suppression amount have to be, though, to make it valued at 50%, given that you can, depending on which side of the tree on, you can hit 100% spell suppression. Not easy, but not difficult. So I'm curious to see what percentage of spell suppression would have to be at to be worth a 50% aura. Well, I agree with you, though. I don't think they should cut any of the defensive stuff. I think give people more options versus killing the options they have.
Yep.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yep. And I don't know where you'd have it, because there's already too many what the just happened deaths, which of course you don't want. You want to know why you died, so you don't like make it harder.
I don't think that fixes it.
No, it's not a fix. I just see them going like, I see defenses in a good spot. I don't see them being overtuned, and the reason people are being overly more successful than they were. I think the defensive situation that we have is allowing more customizability and more theory crafting options, which I think is exactly what Path of Exile should be.
I think the struggle right now with defense is you can't start with it, and that sucks. You have to. Defense is an afterthought to the damage, and it would be fun if there was a way to actually play defensively from the get-go versus, okay, I finished the axe, I'm into maps, I'm going to start now planning out how do I want to progress into red maps. Right. Because you can't plan on defense in the beginning, because you just won't kill anything, and that's not fun.
Exactly. So, and I hope one day that Path of Exile's in a state where it's stupid, like really stupid, to put too much damage on. Like you're just an idiot if it happens. Like you really need your defenses.
Why? Oh, okay. Because you would die, or because there's just a cap to the damage?
No, never cap. This game has always needed to be very careful with its caps. I'm just saying because you would die, but you would die too much.
Okay.
Right? Like having, right now there's a dramatic difference between hardcore and softcore characters, but I'd love to see an even greater disparity between the two.
So here's just maybe a little bit devil's advocate, though, to the comment you made. In order to make it where you would be silly to go the direction of damage versus defense, to me would mean you'd have to start cutting the defensive options that exist to make people find more. You would have to make determination do less. Well, I'm just saying, if the idea is that you want it to be at the point where going damage might not be the best choice because you've skipped out on defense, at this point right now, when you hit into the 80s and 90s, you can very easily be pretty comfortably defensive wise and have been hugely focused on damage. So if you wanted it to be where people in the 80s and 90s maybe had to go less damage and more defensive, your only option is to start cutting some of those values.
No, I was thinking the other side. Offensive values are less. Skills are less.
So like decreasing how much?
Well, I mean, stuff is obviously going to change before Path of Exile 2. Anyway, I'm just saying whatever those changes are, I think having offense, to have an extremely offensive character would require so much investment that you'd be silly to have that many nodes invested in offense as opposed to having like a 50-50 split on life, defense, and offense. You know what I mean? So
in the end, for me, I would just love to see more options, and whether that's skills or drops or whatever it is, I would rather them not cut stuff, and I would rather just have more alternatives to defensive and offensive. You know, give me more options to pick from versus killing something that already maybe is working well.
Agreed.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll find out. Lake of Kalandra, the announcement. What do they call it? It's not an announcement. It's the reveal. The reveal Twitch thing. What is
live
it?
Stream.
Reveal live stream. That's the thing. That'll be on August 11th. What time was that?
I don't know.
Was that our?
You can click on the link, but I don't see it. How was your week? This week of PoE.
Just says PDT. Yeah. Oh, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Weird. Okay.
It's always around that time. Yeah, monkey.
PST. Is it? I thought it was earlier than that.
Okay, 12.
August 11th, 1 p.m. PST. That'll be fun.
Agreed. I already have it in my calendar.
We're gonna wrap this up. Do you?
I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, you can. I don't know how you would, but
well, busy.
All right, let's wrap this up. Forever Exiled.
People have stuff to. You're not the only one who's busy.
47 Path of Exile podcast. Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka
Shut
Tags.
up, Justin. I'm Tyler, aka Rick Rip Days.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us for this episode. Patrons will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else will see you in 148 next week. If you're looking for more information, down below, website foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a Discord, which is a lot of fun, and Patreon and other ways to support